Okay, so what's the real difference between a totally random, unfair exam and one that can actually reliably tell you if someone is ready to be a doctor? Well, the answer is a map, a detailed plan we call an assessment blueprint. And believe me, in a field like medicine, having that map, it changes absolutely everything.
I mean, come on, we've all been there, right? You study for weeks, you feel like you've got it down, and then you sit for the exam and it feels like it came from another planet. It's so frustrating. But now, take that feeling and imagine the stakes aren't just your GPA. Imagine it's a license to practice medicine.
Right. This is exactly what happens when testing becomes a total guessing game. And in medical school, that kind of randomness, it's not just some flaw in the system. No, it's a genuine, serious risk. Think about it. If a medical exam doesn't actually measure how competent a student is, we could be graduating doctors who just aren't fully prepared. All of a sudden, that unfair test isn't just a student's problem anymore, it's a massive public health problem.
And here is where the problem really becomes crystal clear. On one side, you have what's taught. This full, rich curriculum covering everything from clinical diagnosis to patient ethics. But then on the other side, what gets tested is often just a roll of the dice. A totally skewed sample that misses huge critical areas. You know, there's actually a technical term for this. It's called construct underrepresentation, which is a fancy way of saying the test just fails to measure what it's supposed to.
So how do we fix this huge disconnect? Well, you need a map, a guide that makes sure the test actually reflects the journey the student took. And that map, my friends, is the assessment blueprint.
So what is it really? At its core, blueprinting is this systematic map that creates a direct line between what's taught in the classroom and what's actually on the test. It's all about replacing random guesswork with intentional, really thoughtful design.
I love this analogy. You would never build a hospital without a detailed architect's blueprint, would you? Of course not. So why on earth would we create an exam that certifies doctors without one? A blueprint makes sure every single piece is there for a reason, building a structure, an assessment that you can actually trust.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What does this architect's plan for an exam actually look like? How do you go from just an idea to a solid, reliable structure?
Well, it basically boils down to a four-step process. First up, you identify all the core content, everything that's essential. Then, and this part is key, you assign a weightage to each topic, deciding how important each piece is. After that, you pick the right tools for the job. Maybe multiple choice is good for facts, but you'll want a practical hands-on exam for skills, right? And finally, you balance it all out to test not just what students know, but how they think. And this is what it looks like in practice. It's called a table of specifications. You can see how it maps out content areas, like cardiology or neurology, against the kind of thinking skill you need, from just simple recall all the way up to complex evaluation. And those numbers in the cells, that's the magic. They're a promise, a guarantee of exactly how many questions will cover each specific intersection. It is balance by design. No more random surprises. So when you put all this work in, the goals just naturally become the results. You get a test that's valid, meaning it actually measures what it's supposed to. It becomes fair and transparent, which means students can study way more effectively. And this one is huge, it helps reduce an examiner's personal bias, making the whole system more objective and a lot more trustworthy.
Look, this systematic approach isn't just some dry academic exercise. It has a real, tangible impact on everyone involved. We're talking students, faculty, and even the entire institution. It's a clear win-win-win.
And for students, the impact is just massive. Check this out, over 90% of them support blueprinting. And it's pretty obvious why, right? It totally replaces anxiety with clarity. They finally get a fair roadmap for how to study, and they can trust that the whole process isn't just some random game. And hey, it's not just the students who are on board. A huge majority of the faculty, we're talking 85%, find it super practical and effective. It helps them make sure their questions are meaningful, that they're targeted, and that they actually align with what they've taught. You know, it takes the guesswork out of their job too.
And if we zoom out to the institutional level, blueprinting really becomes the backbone of quality assurance. It creates a consistent, reliable standard across all exams, all departments, which is absolutely essential for meeting those super rigorous accreditation requirements.
Okay, so if the benefits are this obvious, you might be wondering, why isn't everyone doing this? Well, let's have a little reality check. Implementing a system like this isn't as simple as just flipping a switch. There are some pretty significant real-world hurdles.
So what are we talking about? Well, for one, this demands a lot of time and effort from faculty who, let's be honest, are already stretched pretty thin. Then you've got the challenge of getting a room full of experts to actually agree on what's most important. Good luck with that. And finally, the institution itself has to commit real resources, money, time, people, to train everyone and support the process properly. But even with those challenges, it is so crucial that we don't lose sight of the big picture here. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about making better tests, it's about making better doctors. And that's really the heart of it. The ultimate goal is to create exams that are valid, reliable, and transparent. Why? Because that is how you measure true clinical competence. Every single part of this process we've talked about, the fairness, the alignment, the structure, it all serves that one final incredibly important purpose, making sure our doctors are ready to provide safe, high-quality care to all of us.
So I'll leave you with this thought. If a simple map, a blueprint, can so clearly and powerfully improve how we train and certify our doctors, what other critical professions are out there right now operating without one? I mean, think about it. Pilots, engineers, lawyers, who else out there really needs a blueprint?